bucking, yo, bucking, bucking, like a mechanical bull, bucking, bucking, wow, bucking, a good night, like money is full. Look at that horse, look at that horse, look at that horse. See a tail all natural, dining on arse. Bucking, whoa, bucking, a good night, whoa, yeah. Patience is thin, your hormones is right at the rim. It was just going in, fuck it, do it again. AOT, why I ain't win? I ain't stung by them. Say that shit on the chin, come back and fuck up the pen. Say the things that I know will offend. Wear that shit that I know start a trend. Take the Bugatti off with a spin. Ain't no top, feel a wit on my skin. Ooh, sticks on the pen. They listen to them. They fight every once and again, but it gets stomped on when we bucking, roll, bucking, like a mechanical bull, bucking, roll, bucking, a good night, flow and the money is full. Look at that horse, look at that horse. Pretty as hell, all natural, and on horse. Bucking, roll, bucking. They think you can change, promise the things that they can't. You the man of the bank, is you is or you ain't. Hit the runway, I'm hit. Watch my pictures some tape. It's in my DNA. Look at my mama, say the things that I know will offend. Wear that shit that I know start a trend. Say that Bugatti out for the spin. Ain't no top pillow win on my skin. Bucking, like a mechanical bull.
What up, what up, what up, what up? We are going to see how this goes. Today, what's popping? I am using a different streaming service than I normally use. So I feel like this is going to be a little different for me. I feel like it might be a little choppy at first. I might have to figure out how to make it unchoppy, but y'all rock with me. Y'all rock with me. Let's figure out how this thing gonna go. Type in the chat if it's choppy. Let me know so that I can know what's going on before I get into it. If not, I might have to switch to my other streaming service in order to do this because I don't want it to be choppy. I want everybody to understand what the fuck going on. So use the chat. Let me know how it's coming across, if the stream is smooth or if it's choppy. Okay, anybody saying nothing, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep it moving. What's up? What's happening, y'all? This is a live iteration of 400 degrees. Brittany kind of put me up to this. She was like, "You should do more YouTube stuff," and I just was like, "I guess. I mean, what? Like, if it's not hot topics, what is gonna be?" You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, really, there are hot topics every goddamn day on Instagram and on social media. But like, I mean, are y'all entertained by hot topics? I think y'all are. No, I really do think that y'all are entertained by hot topics. But today is not going to be a hot topics day. Today is going to be a let's dive deep into some theory. Let's get beyond the tip type of day. I'm actually going to be reading one of the essays that I have written because motherfuckers don't read, but I feel like motherfuckers like to be read too. So I'm going to be doing that today. I'm going to be reading an essay about my theories and philosophies when it comes to aesthetics and art. So we just gonna hop into this motherfucker and we're not gonna play no games. Okay. So I wrote this piece they playing in your face. Aesthete versus artist. January 28th, 2024. Y'all see that? January 28th, 2024 is when I wrote this. Okay. So, oh, that's my boo. Hold on. I have to say hi to my boo. Wait a second. Wait. My boo is in the chat and I have to say hello. What's going on, boo? Hey, Sarah. Anyway, very much heart eyes when I see your name pop in. But we're gonna go over this essay I wrote. It's not like crazy, but I just have some ideas, just some thoughts, just some food for thought when it comes to an aesthete versus an artist and what like how the two have become conflated, I think, in the world of content creation or digital creation or digital creators. And, I think this is a frustration that is shared with a lot of people who identify as artists. I think that this is something that I have sort of been researching for a while, especially thinking about the gig economy and how creativity has been sort of hijacked for the sake of capitalism. And I don't mean that in terms of like, oh, well, creativity has always been hijacked for the sake of selling things. Yes. However, in modern history, contemporary history, uh, being being a creative uh, is a labor that has been exploited to the umpth degree by labeling it entrepreneur. We have a lot of people who are thinking that they're entrepreneurs or that they're being entrepreneurial, but they're actually being exploited. Their creativity is being exploited for the sake of bigger corporations, entities, conglomerates, organizations. And so that is something that I have been tracking a little bit since 2020, the pandemic. And then as of recent, I have kind of been tracking a little bit more focused now uh, the erotics economy, and mainly because that's the economy that I work in now. And so a year ago, so I wrote this January 28, 2024, but a year ago, I was having a lot of revelations and observing a lot when it comes to the word aesthetic and everyone being kind of we kind of being in the zeitgeist of aesthetics and what does that mean. And I've seen a lot of aesthetics divorced from artistry, and this is what I wrote about it, and I didn't edit it. So we're going to be reading it sort of in retrospect, and I'm going to comment as I read it. So it says, artists create things, aesthetes curate things. That's really too simple a statement and probably shouldn't ever be quoted as Bible, but it's how the ice is breaking for sure. I write how I talk, y'all, so just bear with me. There is such thing as being both, doing the most and not the lesser. I want to read deeper into the differences between aesthetics and art. Literally, I want this reading to build a sense for how a false impression of either of those two realities could color survival. And when I say survival, I mean your survival, my survival, our survival. It's important to read the room as we're coming across one another in the pole industry. And when I wrote this, I was really focused on like people who use the apparatus of a pole. And I have come to a different understanding now that I don't want to focus on people who use the apparatus of a pole. I want to focus on people who use the apparatus of their body and who may so happen to use the apparatus of a pole or the floor or a wall or whatever that may be, but their main apparatus is their body. So it says, and being presented with approaches, guidance, responses, or opportunity offers that result, for the most part, in a visual or in human encounter that contours how we exist. What the hell does that sentence mean, Ashley? So I feel like Instagram is not a place where we share sort of isolated our daily comings and goings. Instagram is a place where we are marketed to. Our eyeballs are the product, and we are being sold to whomever wants to buy our eyeballs. Instagram has become that. Instagram has become a marketplace for our attention. And so, with that transition from being a place where we share photographs and video, it's become a marketplace for our eyeballs, because that is how it kind of started. Our eyeballs were there to see each other, to commune with each other, to socialize with each other. And then there was a switch that was hit and it became a marketplace. And so, for the most part, that is what I would like for the melody in the background to be as I continue to read this, is that Instagram, and for the most part, a lot of places, TikTok, Pinterest, are marketplaces for our eyeballs and our attention. My earth sign, Venus and moon, Taurus gang, yes, I am Taurus Venus and a Taurus moon, are reading as provocation what the tangible outcomes of aesthetics versus artistry amount to. So what does it mean to focus on aesthetics? What does it mean to focus on artistry? What are those outcomes? And what are the tangible outcomes of it? What does it mean for the material experience of being in this body, living this life, surviving? The conflation of the two as synonymous is dull as fuck, whereas seeing the polarity allows for pointed transformation in how one acts. So if you look at aesthetics and if you look at art and you see them as synonymous, that's dull. It's flat to me. I think that we can put the two on two poles and juxtapose them, and we will have a better understanding of how we see the world and thus how we act in the world. That's what that sentence means. Their difference isn't rooted in which is better. I'm not putting aesthetics versus artistry in terms of trying to find which one is better, which one is good, which one is more beautiful, which one you should be pursuing. That's not what I'm doing here. It's not what this essay is going to be about. But not being blind to the paradox questions the illusion of competition that tends to produce injury and mistaken choices, along with the discourse that retells it. So I think that sentence there is basically saying, ayo, because we don't see the difference between aesthetics and art, it's because people want to lump them into two. We often experience a lot of injury as a result, because we would rather be same than different. We would rather everything be the same. We would rather all like sort of think that we're competing against each other, than to recognize our differences and say we're different and there simply is no competition, because apples and oranges, right? Well, we'll get into that later. So my goal with this reading is to see how you call it, if you can. For those that care about the impact of marketing being deceptive or not, regardless of the intention, I want you to be able to call out snake oil and act according to conviction and not to crowding. What am I saying by that? Well, I think that a lot of how we make decisions and choices is by crowding. How many people How many people are gathered around this thing? How many people have liked this thing? How many people have enjoyed it? How many people have signaled to Instagram, to TikTok, to whatever, the virality of this? How impactful has it been by the numbers? Rather than, does this piece of media or visual actually confirm our convictions, what we believe, what we are attuned to, what our worldviews are, or does it even maybe challenge it? I would maybe add in retrospect to this sentence. So aesthetes. So I'm going to start with breaking down what I believe an aesthete to be, what I have been informed an aesthete is, and in my tradition of learning, what I have been exposed to when it comes to aesthetes. So aesthetes put aesthetics, sensory experiences of feelings and perceptions in the front and center of their output. Output here being the the final form, the tangible thing. So an output is the final form, the thing that you experience. That could be sound, that could be visual, that could be felt, touch, sense. It could also be felt, touch, affection. Felt affection. So emotions, feelings in the metaphysical realm, those types of things. Okay, so output. That's what I mean by output. An aesthetic output being a curation / creation of appreciation, taste, and value within the human experience. So aesthetics is all about like the sensory experiences, and that being the main focal point. And most of the time, aesthetics center around an appreciation for a specific taste or a specific value. So I'll get into some examples in a minute. But there is a pursuit toward creating an intended perception and judging the ability to refine the appreciation of a sensory experience. So when you are an aesthete, you are focused and honed in on a very particular type of human experience. And you are deeming that very specific type of human experience good, worthy, valuable. Whether that aesthetic experience is gothic, whether it is cottagecore, whether it is soft femininity, whether it is beta male masculinity, whether it is Lisa Frank core, like aesthetics, and even as I'm saying these things, certain images, symbols, colors should start to come to your mind. And that is what aesthetics is. It is an appreciation for a certain type of lived sensory experience. Okay. And aesthetes are people who curate those things. The forms can already exist, and what aesthetics does is see the patterns in the existing formations and connects them to the core of a set of beliefs. So, for example, cottagecore. I don't know if anything is coming to mind for you, but I'm gonna actually give y'all some like tangible examples in a second. An aesthete realizes a taste level, if you will, of a personal or societal value that represents worthiness, goodness, or beauty. So my case in point, my example here is the Femi Muse, which at the time of writing this is what their Twitter page looked like. I think that they have an Instagram page as well. But the Femi Muse, to me, is an aesthete. Talking about what differentiates aesthetes from artists, I brought up an aesthete who I respect from afar, and that's this person. The respect is there not because I agree with this person's direction, curation, or guidance sensibilities, because I don't. I don't agree. But the respect is there because the Femme Muse stands 10 toes down on the convictions around what it means to them for curating a life of goodness and beauty and substance. Through all the channels, there is an aesthetic belief that is rooted in a desire of being presented a specific way, and all one's choices should align with that. The outcomes of these aesthetic sensations and choices produce for what the Femme Muse believes an authentic self in the existence in the world. So let's just look. So this is the Femme Muse's formerly known as Twitter page. I refuse to call it the other name because I'm gonna call it whatever the his mama said call it. And so you guys can just see the type of media, the type of beauty, the type of visual standard, we can say, that they are presenting. So curations and musings to help you become your best self. And so they curate this. You know, have they made these things? Have they created these things? Have they conceived of these things materially? No. But this is a curation of a specific, what we might call in like colloquial terms, a vibe. This is a vibe. It's a vibe. And they're curating this vibe. And this is the vibe that they believe enhances and promotes well-being and goodness in the world. I'm going to open up some of these things to just even give you a little bit of their philosophy in word form, right? From December the 5th, 2023. Slowing down is essential to nourishing your nervous system, especially if you're prone to anxiety and rushing. Prioritize presence. Do one thing at a time. Take deep, slow breaths. Give yourself time to do nothing and allow yourself to recalibrate. Self-care is soul care. From January 27th, 2024. As you appreciate the beauty that exists within others, you actively expand your awareness of the beauty that exists within you. As you seek, you shall find both within and around you. And so, again, these are words that are coupled with images that they post. This is an image of the person that curates the Femme Muse. A lot of their images, I believe, are faceless, if I can remember. So this is another image of the Femme Muse. A lot of their images are faceless. This is them taking in art at an art gallery. They also offer services for well-being, for creation, for aesthetics. This is a list of some of the things that come with one of their services, which, you know, hey, when you watch this back, pause it, read it for yourself. Or you can, I'll put the link to this reading in the description of this video, and you can go and read some of these things for yourself. So they're like the Femme Muse is selling you something. Yeah. So not just are they selling you a vibe or something, some eye candy, they're also selling you a philosophy, a way of life, a way of appreciating life, a way of acquiescing to whatever this standard of beauty is, whether it be physical beauty or sensorial beauty, right? Okay. So I'm going to present the other side, an artist. Artists use aesthetics, but it is the background rhythm to the foreground of producing an output. An artistic output is the practice and creation of a body of work, singular or collective, brought together to reflect dimensionality and discipline. That is the complex human psyche, condition, and or imagination. This is not just the act of creativity. It is the ability to rip into dimension making, to create new forms, derivatives, or inventions. This is not always perceived or focused on beauty. So that a main point of departure here in terms of what differentiates an aesthete from an artist. Aesthetes are focused on beauty. What is good? What is virtuous? What is What is a sensorial experience that promotes the good, the goodness, a taste level, right? Artists are not always concerned about that. Artists are not always concerned about what is good, what is virtuous, what is beautiful in their makings and in their doings. So I just want to point that out as a point of departure and something to think about. Artists should be identified by the workings of their art. The word working read here is not simply commercially valuable labor. So not just like what could be extracted as labor, so not work as in labor work, but work as in it is the process of effort being made tangible in a form via human ability within a medium. So, for example, a sculpture artist is working within the medium of whatever choosing physical substance they want to use, whether that be clay, whether that be stone, whether that be wire, whatever physical material they are using, that is what they're working. They're actually working a material, right? For graphic designers or graphic artists, the pixel is the thing that most of them work. You know, even if it comes from a tangible substance material in the material world that they have taken a photograph of or drawn inspiration from, they come into the digital realm and they work the pixel, right? That is the medium by which they are working. They're working the pixel that creates the typographic font. They're working the pixel, and I can only go into depth like this because I'm a graphic artist. So hey, whatever. So I'll shut up. Keep on. There are some abilities that we have as humans that are innate or that we are uniquely drawn to craft, not out of need for income necessarily, but it is a gift, oftentimes present since childhood. I'm attempting to be generous in the interpretation of what an artist is, but clear in distinction so that art forms that are not considered fine arts or refined by institution are included. So there are some art forms that are not deemed fine art that should be included. And I'm saying that because I think that pole dance is one of those that should be considered an art form that is primarily considered a labor form that has not been given a lot of credit as being an art form of dance, right? It's more seen as a labor form or a recreational form or a physical sporting athletic form. So yeah, about that. More maybe not tonight, but later on those things. But yeah, so there are some forms of art that are not considered fine art or they have not been refined by an institution. And so I want to be generous in what I deem as art and what I don't. Art can borrow, as in reference, interpolate, as in remix, and draw on things, as in source, that are already in existence, but it does not accept it, let alone present it back to the world in the same form, because that would be plagiarism. Right, exactly. That it was discovered. From here, I can begin to talk about the delineation, crediting, sourcing, researching, but I think that's a Pandora's box that I've touched on before, and I can also save for its own bitching, which I bitched about last week in Body View. If you were in Body View Essence Ethically, we talked about crediting, sourcing, researching, plagiarism, all that jazz. We talked about all of that. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm almost done, y'all. Almost done. Promise. How does this apply to the current atmosphere? And I'm going to strike the word poll because I think this applies in a lot of different ways. is there's a paradox of issues and collective dysfunction that I've been observing between demographics. Each channel I come across that's run by a human being, because y'all know it's buku Instagram channels that are not run by human beings, just putting that out there, is reflecting what they want us to see with a rightful entitlement to privacy. Everyone decides their level of privacy, and we should respect that, period. The arguments that I've seen or heard about over the last couple of weeks are what they are. Shit happens. Some of it I choose not to prioritize inserting myself in, and others I have my opinions and critiques that I'm sure are polarizing. I'm going to skip down. Literally everyone is trying to survive, and it's 2025 and we are still here. In this boat of like, how are we going to survive? And more so than ever, in the last maybe 4 years, we are now looking at this new presidency and being like, how the hell are we going to survive the next 4 years? And what I predict and can see in the future for us is way more infighting than I think we would like to cop to. I think there's going to be way more infighting, and I think there's going to be way more infighting because we won't acknowledge our differences. We won't allow for differences, and we won't accept differences. We want sameness. And we just do not have the capacity for what it means to be different and to call things out loud, even if they make us look politically incorrect. So that's what I'm sensing. That's what I feel like is gonna happen. But particularly in the creative fields, in the artistry, in the spiritual realms, in the metaphysical realms, it's going to get real nasty out here. It's going to get real nasty out here because for the most part, most of us have had to commodify in some way, shape, or form our artistry in order to survive, to become either a passive income or an active one. And that means that we have to enter not only the market as laborers, but also as business people we also have to enter as marketers. We have to enter the market as marketers. We don't get to hire agencies. We don't get to be hands off with the promotion and selling of our goods and services. We have to take on the role, which in antiquity they did too. However, in antiquity, when you went to market, you showed up as yourself with your good and your service, and you either had snake oil to sell or you had the real deal Holyfield to sell. And it's not a new problem. The issue of what is real and what is not, the issue of marketing and advertising and trying to figure out what is and what isn't is not a new problem. The issue of plagiarism and copying and someone saying that they do something when they don't do the thing that they say, or someone overselling a good or service because they're using language that another person is using because they think that because this other person is using this language and they're making this money that they can also use that same language. This is not a new problem. This is a problem that we have had since antiquity, since freaking vacuum salesmen, since mobile oracles, since been. So like, this is not a new problem. We are still dealing with some of the same problems that we've had as a human existence for a very long time. So what does it mean to acknowledge and to look at these, to become aware of them, to become conscious of them, and then to imagine differently and to world make differently? That's what the rest of this is going to be about. Okay, cool, boom. So I'm just going to skip over that. Y'all can, again, I'm going to put this shit in the motherfucking, I'm going to put this link in the description and you can read all of this. Okay, so I have a little bit of some things going on. Now, y'all, you may or may not know who this is. If you know who this is, you know who this is. If you don't know who this is Cammy, a very, very prominent pole dancer who is represented, has done a lot of media and press. And this is or was their page in 2024. This is a little screen grab that I grabbed. And I just want you to just take it in. Take it in. Take it in. You see there? Take it all in. I'm going to remove my beautiful face. Take it in. Notice what you see. Take notes of associations that you're starting to make. Taste level. If you had to put a price on what you saw, like where would you rank it? You know, how would you rank it? What would you classify it in your brain? Something I want you to do with that. This is a screen grab from January 2024 of some of their offerings, Cammy's offerings. We have mentions of chakras. We have mentions of contortion and flexibility. And I'm just going to go back and forth between these two things. Again, if you want to get granular about this, that link is going to be in the description and you could go ham. You heard me? But just take some stock of like what you're associating right now. Symbolically, value-wise, all of that. Right? So then I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you someone else. This is Shelly. Shelly is the owner and founder of Fit to Flaunt. Shelly has built from this screen grab a multi-million-dollar fitness empire. I want you to take notes about word usage, visual, like symbolism, things that are happening as you view these things, right? From pole dancer to fitness mogul, how to build a multi-million-dollar fitness empire. Yeah, okay. So we went through that. Why am I showing you this? So, using Cammy as a representative for people who are aesthetes, who have some bit of artistry, it is her aesthetics, the way experiences are curated and presented and sensorially centering beauty, goodness, wellness, and worth, even if it does include a little bit of sex appeal, you know, a little heel there, a little here now and there, you know, little cheek now and there, right. Even if it does use those things, Kimmy is still an aesthete to me. And this curation of what is good and well and worth it makes her and her endeavors popular and marketable, thus favorable for opportunities. Not to mention that old girl got a bomb manager press team. Again, as I have said, you could Google Cammy and lots of articles from, I think there's an article in Vogue. I just could be wrong. I'm just off the top of my brain. Same with people like Shelly. Shelly is a former stripper who has a corporate brand to uphold that while most sex worker adjacent and that she's sex worker and queer adjacent because of her personal identities, the aesthetics themselves are still brandished in a contemporary, feminine, affirming girl boss, club cosplayish way, right? So lots of pink And if y'all don't know the historicalness of um, feminist culture and movements in pink, I need y'all to remember the pink pussy hats. Remember those. Remember those hats during the Me Too movement, and you will see how the color pink has become symbolic for femininity and also feminist thought and theory. Okay, so just track with me here. Okay, track with me here. Again, Shelly is a mom. Shelly is a queer. Shelly is queer. Shelly is also a former stripper, and she's been in this industry for a long time. For a long time. I don't know if when you all first saw these images, either of these images, if you equated them with sex positivity or sex work. But that's just something to think about. Okay. Um, and then I'm going to in this essay, I use myself as a juxtaposition. So I say, meanwhile, there are artists who explicitly prioritize their domain to being an artist, who may be using aesthetics that are not lucky to have the same opportunities for visibility by choice or by force. Mine is by choice. And this is where the tension resides. And the tension that I'm referring to is when we get upset about who gets opportunities and who doesn't. When there are conversations and lots of ruckus and upheaval about whether or not sex positive spaces or sex working spaces are getting the visibility that they deserve. A lot of times the discussions are so reductionist and they're just simplified down to us versus them, where the us versus them is not considerate of a much larger issue, which the much larger issue is our labor is being exploited, period, whether that is sexual labor or labor in general. And so people are being forced, whether they intend to or not, to identify in certain ways to receive more opportunities, whether that's authentic to them or not. But we'll continue. I'm going to use myself as an example. I could use others, but I think I want to drive home a point about how our choices and behaviors are colored and how my determination makes me act different. My aesthetics that are the background to my artistic work are not love and light. They're not contemporary feminism, or they don't even promote cleanliness, living well, glitz, lifestyling at all. If you've ever been to my Instagram page, you know it is obscene. Not merely because it's pornographic, but it's also dark, high contrast. The images and the edges are hard. A lot of my stuff is low budget because it is. There's there's a lot of grit, grime, pulp, dirtiness to how I display myself. And there's a shroud of mystery around how relatable I am. I make very bold and offensive statements about my worldviews, and I share my philosophies about systemic issues. And I organize my creations into new domains of being and doing for others I participate in. So this is a screen grab from my feed from January 2024. And in January of 2024, I barely had any fucking color on my feed. And it was deliberate. It was very, very fucking deliberate. It was very deliberate to not have color on my feed. And I negotiated bringing color into my feed. Actually, let's go look. Let's go look at it. Actually, I negotiated bringing color into my feed as a choice because I know that the visual on Instagram suffers when it is not in color. And it is because color inundates the feed. And so whenever there is something black and white and it isn't immediately striking, it automatically gets looked over. And so I negotiated with my feed last year to introduce color because I needed to sell some shit. I needed to get some eyeballs. And if we're circling back to the beginning of this conversation, where I said that Instagram is a marketplace for eyeballs, it is not a place where you go to socialize and share. Yes, you do, as a result of giving your eyeballs. First and foremost, you give your eyeballs. That is what you pay. That is what we pay to be on Instagram. We give our eyeballs. And so in order to compete with everyone else's posts that are trying to get people's eyeballs, I was like, I have to introduce color. So this was January of 2024. And by January of 2025, I had introduced color. Now, albeit I didn't introduce a lot of bright colors, I did not introduce a lot of saturated colors. The A lot of these are very neutral, dark, grayish, muted colors. And that was the only way that I could negotiate bringing color into my feed, was to be like, it still has to be dark, and it still has to be muted of some tone in order to continue in my worldview and how I sort of create. And it's not just about my aesthetic, but it's about what my aesthetic means. And if you've taken body view, the first body view class, cinematic editing, then you know that I've shared my world view, my world map, like my visual world map, and like what that means to me. And so a lot of the colors and things that I use on Instagram are not simply because I like them, or simply because I think that they're pretty or beautiful. In fact, some of the shit I don't think is beautiful. Some of it I think is just like, me. But I think that it's impactful and I think that it's meaningful. So that's a tangent. Let's go back to the thing. So to end, let's wrap this all up because we're coming up on an hour. The thing that gets on my damn nerves is the false impression that aesthetics are synonymous with art. We don't need to debate on what art is. I've given a clear definition of what I think an artist is. So I'm not ever going to debate what art is, because I think that is a reductive conversation in light of all of the things that I'm discussing. But what I do think is important is to consider how we're marketing and how we're being marketed to. And I keep saying this shit. How we're handled and how false impressions, snake oils, are twisting at our guts and carving into our irritability. And what do I mean by that? If you've been on Instagram for any amount of time in 2025, you have experienced just being irritated by what you see. Whether it's because you see things and you like, this is not right, this can't be right, or whether you see things and you like, that don't match, or whether you have seen things and been like, that is absolutely disgusting, just offensive as hell. All right. They playing in our faces, y'all. They, yes, them, and I. They as in they, them, like them folks, them niggas, all them, they playing in our faces. The realities of difference of an aesthete versus an artist are just a mirror for all the ways we create competition out of differences instead of respecting it, carving our lanes and fighting against the real things that oppress our abilities to do either. So who is they? They are the oligarchs of social media. They are your government who refuses to take care of you. They are the wealth hoarders that refuse to pay you a livable wage and refuse to increase your salary despite your resume and the things that you have accumulated and the knowledge and the tenure that you have put towards the discipline that you have dedicated your life to, your life of laboring, or your life of meaning and purpose. And so then what happens is, instead of being upset about that, we're upset about, oh, well, if you're not a stripper, you shouldn't be wearing pleasers. It's like very, very low hanging fruit, super low hanging fruit. We're upset about who should, can, could learn twerk, instead of like digging deep into why is it that we have to even commodify twerk. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that indigenous dances or cultural relics should not have value, monetary, green, munyan value. But that is to say that if you're upset that someone has figured out a way to commodify twerk in a way that does not resonate with you, why are you more upset at the person than you are at the institution that would make it so they had to do that? And have we gotten to the point where we're interrogating ourselves and the way in which we perpetuate certain things that we hate or that we think is injurious or causes injury? I don't have the answers, Sway. I just am here to give you a bit of perspective and tell you about what I'm seeing. So yeah, that is the reading of They Playing in Your Face, Aesthete versus Artist. The realities for all the ways survival competition is created out of a tangle of false impressions, false equivalence, and mishandling. And so I hope that in hearing this, that it maybe inspires you to even go read this, even though it's a year old. It was nice to kind of go back to this and to really think about if I've changed my mind in the ways in which I've changed my mind about some of this stuff. And I haven't changed my mind. I think the only thing that has changed is the level of impact that I think this has had on me, particularly as an artist who wants to make a livable income off of their artwork, and not just the aestheticization of what it is that I do, but the actual working of the art. And so, thank you all. Shout out to everybody who came in and stayed. Shout out to Brittany, who was like, Ashley, you should get on YouTube and you should do something. And I was like, what am I gonna do? Because I can't be doing hot topics all the time. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just read something that I've written. And that's how we got here. I thank you. I hope that this week and your endeavors as you go into the future are littered and prosperous with these seeds that have been planted, and that you water them, and that the crows don't come and take these things away from you. Until next time, peace. And like Derek